Kings, queens, and in-betweens, welcome back to the City Boys podcast. My name is Ethan Thornton, and I am joined by two of my best friends. Jacob, how are you doing tonight, good sir?
I'm doing pretty good, all things considered. Just drawing a bunch of pictures throughout my day because that's how I've been feeling. What about you, Grayson?
I'm coming up out of a little patch of sickness. I'm starting to feel a little bit better, so that's good. That's all I wanted. And it's getting a little warmer out, so I'm feeling it. I want to go out and play some ball.
The seasons are changing. We are heading into second winter here in the Midwest. It
Probably
is
third.
fast approaching. Um, man, our first away game this season, gentlemen. I was very delighted that I finally got to watch a St. Louis City match on TV with my Uncle Bruce. And what a time that was. He has had a side interest in soccer, I think, because his nephew is so passionate about it growing up. So it was great to break it down and be like, all right, this is why St. Louis City is the greatest club in the world. So that was fantastic stuff. I really enjoyed watching that. How were the scenes for y'all this weekend, though? Like we said, an away game, our first at San Diego.
Yeah, I was very tempted to live stream this one, but my voice would have sounded terrible because I was going through it. Uh, but I did have a great time watching the game. Didn't have any company. I just hunkered down in my room and watched every single match from Soccer Saturday, except for the ones that took place during City because they deserved my full attention there.
Yeah, I had similar vibes for my soccer Saturday. Sort of semi announcement. I am in the process of moving. More on that later, but
Oh,
my house looks like a frat boy's house right now. I literally just have my recliner in the center of the room, directly 90-degree angle to my television. So I'm just sitting there, side table. I was hitting the brewskis pretty hard last night. Started with the 4 o'clock games and then just carried it into the city game. So by the time the city game got started, I was well and beat up, kind of like our boys. But no, it was a good time.
they needed a beer.
Been really impressed this season with how the MLS has like changed up how they've done games so that we get to watch a lot more games. I know Ethan posted about that on our social medias, and I'm just going to echo that sentiment because I think I watched 6 or 7 matches before City even kicked off. And then by the
Yeah.
time the City game was over, I was like, all right, I think I actually have my fill of soccer for the day.
It's a rare occurrence when you get days like that these
Yeah.
days. It used to
Mm.
be exclusively the Premier League in the mornings, and then by noon, at the latest 3 o'clock, you've got your fix for the day. And now it's nearly an all day event. I mean, I love it. And the addition of Sunday night soccer, Miami and Houston just finished up not too long ago, right before we
Yeah.
we pressed record. So we love to critique the MLS. It's kind of our favorite pastime, and rightfully so.
It's a good time.
But we also will give it credit when it's due. And I will say that I do want to give the MLS credit. It was very enjoyable to spend a lot of my weekend watching the MLS.
Hey, the product is getting better. I fully believe that American soccer is s- steadily climbing, steadily, slowly but surely.
Speaking of American soccer teams rising the ranks, how about we talk about one of the MLS's newest teams facing off against another one of the MLS newest teams this weekend's match, gentlemen? Are we ready to dive into it a little bit?
Yes, sir. I was honestly very excited for this matchup to see what San Diego was going to bring to the table.
Frankly, yeah, I was expecting a barn burner, and we got we got a little bit of the opposite of that,
A
if I had
nice,
to say.
nice quiet day on the farm there, I guess.
Yeah. After we finished recording last week, and my prediction was that we would lose, I kind of like personally myself went back on it a little bit and convinced myself that we could come out of Snapdragon Stadium with 3 points. Um, but then we didn't. So here we are.
I That's a pretty good summation of the match too, as well, Jacob. After watching St. Louis City pretty much run around the pitch for 90 minutes, we will sneak away from San Diego's first MLS match with a singular point, which, to be fair to the boys, is not a horrible result. Last year's champions couldn't walk away from a match against San Diego with a point, so I'm not feeling terrible about it. How are y'all feeling post match? I know the for once the group is slightly divided.
I I don't know if I would go completely divided. I think I think Ethan and I may have a little tiny bit of a little bit more optimism.
I think the
Just
glass half full kind of outlook is a better way to describe
it's more
how we
like
My
feel.
glass is half empty right now.
I would say more like excited that I got a shot. Like I got a little bit in here and I'm happy about it. Because like defensively, nice. Like
Beautiful
we
stuff.
gotta love that. Like, come on.
Mhm.
The name Henry Kessler could not stop coming out of the mouths of those
King
announcers
Cass.
because he was getting on the ball like almost every second. He was locked down and he was easily our best player. We should have put him up top.
Yeah, easily. I kind of echo that. My like glass half full look at it is, oh, we were fantastic defensively. Also, we played defense for 90 minutes. So that sucks.
Yeah.
But then the other way I was looking at it is like, okay, we solved our big issue from last year, which was our defending. We couldn't defend or hang on, and what we did in this game is honestly close enough to what Grayson had been asking for a long time, which is just to grind out points and not have it look pretty, just make sure we come home with something when we go on the road.
Mm.
So
True.
that's where I'm taking my optimism from this less than ideal performance that we put out on Saturday.
Yeah, the main difference between what I wanted is we got to get one goal. We got to get one. We got to get one for it to be 1-0. And we had two chances to do it. We had two chances to do it. And just it's that final ball, it's that final touch, just a little bit more composure on both ends and we could be walking away with 3 points this match. And that's a wild thing to say because we really were defending for an hour and a half. Um, and that does also say, like, we were defending for an hour and a half. That's pretty good defense. But yeah, enough on that. I think we should get into the lineups for this matchup. We went with the a similar lineup to last week. Olaf electing to continue with the five at the back, and I think we will continue to see it for the foreseeable future. We've got Roman Berkey in goal, of course, holding it down in the back, no doubt. We got King Kess in the direct center of that back line. We got Giannis Horn as our left center back, Kyle Hebert as our right center back this week. We got wingbacks in Thomas Totland on the right and Conrad Valum making his first start in the MLS for St. Louis City on the left. Very happy to see that. And then we've got Leuven and Akil Watts in the middle of the park with Marcel Hartle in the 10. And then we've got two strikers or two tens. It depends on the moment. St. Louis City is very fluid, so whichever one, however you want to see it. In defense, we were pressing with two strikers, two focal points, and that is Two Shirt on the left and Simon Betcher on the right. We did get to see a myriad of subs come in. We had Chris Durkin coming in for Two Shirt, actually, which is very interesting. We did see Durkin almost playing in the 10 role, kind of where Hartel was at first. So that was extremely interesting. We did see Alfredo Morales come in again for Edu Leuven in the 61st minute. We also saw João Klaus come into that game. Much needed. We were chatting in the group chat and we were calling for him. We needed him. We got Josh Yarrow and Celio Pompeu coming in late into the match. It's a little bit too late at that point to try and make a big impact on the game, but it was good to see Celio out there. Just I'd like to see him a little bit earlier, in my opinion, because we weren't creating anything
Yeah,
offensively.
Celio in the 85th minute felt more ceremonious than it was actual impact.
Yeah.
Get some minutes under his belt. I don't know if this game really grew a lot of confidence for him going forward because all he did was press and chase. Like he didn't really have a chance to get on the ball, but nonetheless, it was good to see Celio back out there.
Definitely. I was happy to see Conrad Vollum getting his first start in the MLS. I really like what he brings to the left wing back position. I was also really interested to see what kind of chemistry our three center backs would have. That's a big, big deal in a five back formation. So really impressed to see the kind of fluidity that Kyle Hebert, King Kessler, and Giannis Horn all had together. I was really impressed by their ability. The final note that I want to make on the starting lineup was that Deutscher seemed like he just needed a little bit more time to go into the game. I was surprised to see the halftime substitution. Generally, I want my starting 11 to go a little longer than 45 minutes. If you're a starter, I'm under the impression that you are the best player to give us the best chance to win the game and that you should be out there for a long time. So I was at least an hour. All right. And we believe that Toy Shirt will have a big impact not only on St. Louis City, but in the league. We could see him leading the league in goals, but still yet to get off the mark as of the second game of the season.
And I think that partially has to do with him getting a partial preseason with the team. You know, he was separated from the team for a while as he was doing a lot of paperwork, trying to get that green card so we could move him off of our international list of players. Um, he did get the green card, I'm pretty sure, or
Yeah.
it's at least it's on the way. But, you know, we did not get to see him particularly play with this squad and with the new coach and the new system. And although we did see a lot of that really nice offense that looked like it had a lot of good chemistry at the end of last season, we're not seeing that right now. And I honestly have no doubt that it will come back. I just think City needs some more time to grow and it'll come.
Yeah, I think this was a tough game to give him that first start.
Mhm.
Granted, Olaf only has the 90 minutes that San Diego played against LA Galaxy last week to make a decision on who's going to be the best 11 to go up against San Diego. So it was kind of underlined at the fact that San Diego's so good in possession that that's what makes their defense so good. That not having Klaus up top to just break up their constant pressure and possession was kind of overlooked. And not saying that that's like really a mistake. We just didn't have a lot to go off of. I definitely think when we play San Diego at home later in the season, we'll have more film to look at and make a better game plan than the one we went into Snapdragon with.
Still, I think the result, although it's not what we wanted to see, we only come away with the point. I don't think it's too negative of a result. All right, there is the glass half full, glass half empty, and like we alluded to, I think Grayson and I are more in the glass half full column. But a point coming out of Snapdragon Stadium is, I think, very good for us because it's their inaugural home match. I think that San Diego had a lot on the line, and St. Louis was able to meet the moment and stop them up in their pursuit of. They didn't even score a goal in their inaugural home match. I mean, frankly, I would be embarrassed to be on that San Diego team. 35 or thousand or so fans, and you could not even produce a goal for them.
Couldn't produce more than one shot on target, actually. Like to point that out. Everyone's given San Diego's offense a ton of credit, but
they had the ball a lot. They passed it around the field a lot. That is no doubt true. And I didn't take great joy out of watching St. Louis have only 30% possession in a game. That wasn't super enjoyable, don't get me wrong, especially after we clearly asserted our style of play in match day 1 against Colorado. We had probably double the tally of passes. I couldn't tell you the exact number, but I'm quite sure it's above double. So it's a completely different look, St. Louis City. Yeah.
I think we should hop into the match just a little bit. We're not going to go completely in depth because we've all seen it. There's not a lot of goals to talk about, but there was a couple big moments that did occur during the match. Jacob, you were excited to talk about this one, so I'm going to go ahead and let you open it up if you want to talk about Chucky.
Excited is tough. You never want to see a star of the league go down injured. But you're right. In the 28th minute, there was an over-the-top ball, like there had been numerous times for Chucky Lozano. And in him trying to chase it down, he pulled up early, started grabbing his hamstring, and eventually was taken off the field and subbed for Boateng. I forget his first name.
Emma,
Um,
Emmanuel.
but honestly, like that, other than the fact that we were able to ride out the first 25 minutes of noise from the fans and keep them off the score sheet in the first 30 minutes, there's not a ton to talk about in the first 30 other than probably the most pivotal part of the match for San Diego, which was that their star did have to come off the field. I think I speak for all of us that the game outcome might have looked different if Chucky played 60 to 90 minutes as opposed to just the 25, 28 minutes he was on the field. But that's ball. What I'm not praying for their star player to get hurt, but he
Oh,
did get hurt and we benefited from it.
yep, that's very true. Moving on, I don't want to get into too many of San Diego's chances because there's a couple to talk about, but I will mention St. Louis City's first chance of the match coming out of Thomas Totland running down the right side of the pitch, which is maybe a bit overdone on City's part, as we've seen during this match that we primarily attacked during on the right side almost during the entire match. I was super happy to see Vollum in the game. We didn't use him nearly half as much. He only had 12 passes the entire game. We just we didn't get him the ball enough. I think Vollum gets has a bit more confidence when it comes to attacking compared to Thomas Totland, but we're still utilizing Thomas a lot more. And I think that comes with, like Olaf said, just familiarity. The back line isn't used to playing with Vollum yet, so we're used to spraying the ball around. And surprisingly, using Kyle Hebert a lot more to start the attack from the back line. And maybe that's not the best. We really struggled to get the ball into their end of the field without playing a ball in over the top and just hoping and praying that someone's going to get it down. But our best attack this entire match came from Thomas Totland running down the right side and putting a ball in across to uh I think it was to Tuchel,
I don't remember
but
who received it, but I know who ended it.
either way, it did not meet our players, sadly. The ball was just a little too slow, a little too on the ground. Just keeper was able to collect it quite easily, but it was our best chance of the match.
I think that says it all. Not much to be said about the St. Louis City attack,
Yeah.
especially in the first half. I think it is safe to say in a lot of people's minds that Simon Betcher has earned the starting striker role for the time being over Joao Klaus, especially if there's only one. But after last night, I think that his stock has dropped just a little bit in as far as that goes, just because not able to produce. I think he was somewhat taken out of the game a little bit by their center backs. Was he still his normal Simon Betcher pest self up top? no doubt, he still looked like a physical annoyance for the center backs and drawing their attention. But unfortunately, 2 games and still no production from any attackers.
Anyone, actually, period.
It's not, yeah, it's not. I'm not even singling out Simon. It's the
Yeah.
entire attack.
Well, should we move on from the match and just get into our points?
I do have a couple defenses of our attack for this match.
Mhm.
I think Toysher did not have a great 45 minutes, and I think that that really ended up screwing over a lot of our attempts to try and attack. Typically Simon and Toy Shirt do work well together up top, but I think in this specific instant with Toy Shirt still kind of getting his feet under him after that shortened preseason you had alluded to, that Simon Betcher is not really the player to carry a front line. He
Mm.
is rapid and very technical, and he's going to be able to bang in a shot or two from distance, but really his best attribute is getting over the top or those diagonal runs out wide. So if I were to make changes to this attack, it would have been, if we're going to go with the two strikers up top, it would have been a Klaus and a Betcher, or we commit to the actual 4-3-3 and we've got some pacey wingers for the left and right wing side with Betcher as another pace demon up top, and then move Conrad Vollum a little bit forward up on the pitch and gives us kind of a man for man attack going forward as opposed to constantly attacking with one less man. Um, but that was my like quick fix for the match that I was seeing. It sort of didn't even really come to fruition though, even once we got Klaus on the field. But yeah.
I mean, you're 100% right. The key to attacking with wingbacks is attacking with wingbacks. They gotta get further down the pitch, which leaves us exposed defensively. But that's why you have three backs. That's why you have two defensive midfielders, like eights that do have defensive duties. Like, we're good defensively. We have players back. We're gonna have players back. When we're attacking down the wings, we need our forwards, our wingbacks to get down the field and actually force their back line to have to cover them. If it's taking a midfielder who's able to cover Totland and Vollum, then their back line is not taking any pressure. And it's going to lead into my point because soccer is a numbers game, and we've got to get numbers down the field in order to make any sort of attack. We can't expect Simon Betcher to beat six players and score when we're sending him on a ball. We need someone who can hold up play, bring players into the attack so we can attack with more than three. Because I think so many times we are attacking, yeah, like Jacob said, down a man, 3 versus 4 every single time.
Sometimes it's 3 versus 6.
Yeah.
That's not a winning number. If you've ever played the game Risk before, you know that if you're two man to one man, you're gonna lose the dice roll.
Yeah, not a great look. Not a great look there. I will say in final notes on this match, because we talked about optimism and positives to take away from this match. And I think we should go ahead and talk about the atmosphere in the stadium for the San Diego game because for me, I had a similar moment when I was in high school when we played against a very, very good John Burroughs side who often mercy ruled us, often. And it was their senior night, and we held them to a 1-0 win, and they were pissed. They couldn't stand that they could not score against us. And even though we lost, I felt so much pride in ruining their party.
Mm.
And that's exactly what St. Louis got to do tonight was ruin a homecoming for San Diego, ruin their night, and rattled them so much that they almost got the match canceled.
shameful from the supporters, truthfully. Look, I'll say I'm a white dude. All right. So I did not know that this was a homophobic thing until recently, but homophobia is not cool. All right. I think anyone can agree on that. So if it's gonna get the match suspended, don't do it. I think it's just it's simple to me.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, homophobia is not cool. But like I love the Hispanic fusion of soccer. Like I like how the STL Santos has brought just another level of sport fandom to watching St. Louis City games. And bringing in a San Diego side that does have a lot of Hispanic supporters, like you're gonna get the pros of that Hispanic culture watching their favorite soccer team play. The tough part is sometimes that's going to come with a negative of this specific chant. And if it's going to end up getting your match canceled or going to have to be replayed in front of no fans, like just don't do that part. Like if that's one part of your experience that you're not gonna do, then it's really not that big of a deal and it makes for a better time for everybody as opposed to just a good time for you.
Yeah. So very well said. I'm glad that we got to ruin the evening for everyone involved. Um,
I know I
maybe
did
not
feel a
get
little
three
better
points,
that
but
I felt better that our record was safe. No doubt. I was like, okay, we're
yeah,
still the best expansion side start ever. They can't take that from us.
exactly. That's another major positive for me, so that we did get to end their win streak really before it even began. One game is not a win streak. So yeah. Any final notes on the match before we get into the points?
No,
I think we can
sure.
get into it. All right. I'll go ahead and kick it off because I'm excited. My point for this week is kind of like a rant, not super uh concise, but my point is simply overrun. A lot of factors that added up to STL not seeing any offensive movement almost at all in this second matchup. Last week I mentioned not being able to find the 10, but this week we really couldn't find anybody. We had a player who played 46 minutes and had two passes. And if I'm not even gonna blame him for that because our build-up play was so poor. I looked back into the MLS archives and found another match that reminded me of this, where I remembered being completely overrun and ran out of the match. And that game that this reminded me of was last season versus LAFC. LAFC beat us 2-0, and we were just barely even there. Uh, and that was because I was reminded of this because of the man of the match performance from two players. So we had a man of the match performance from Timothy Tillman in our game against LAFC, where he had an insane matchup. And I will say both of these teams played a similar, very similar lineup. They played a 4-3-3, so they had four people or three people in the midfield, and all three of them are pretty versatile eights. I'd say in San Diego's case, you have Godoy, you have Luca De La Torre, who's I'd say a little bit more attacking, maybe more of a 10. And then you have Jepe Surkov, who absolutely ruled the midfield against St. Louis this week with the help of his balanced midfield. But just like Timothy Tillman, almost had the exact same stat line. 11 ball recoveries and six interceptions. Just absolutely absurd. I mentioned this to my mom during the first match, and Taylor Twellman could not stop talking about it during the match. But the amount of flicks and little cute touches on the ball instead of collecting the ball, keeping it on the ground, making a good firm pass, hold up play was just non-existent. And as I had mentioned before, soccer, it may not look like it, but it is a game of numbers. And sadly, our current lineup has us winning the numbers game, but only in the backfield. We lose the numbers game in the midfield and offensively. It's never going to work out. Consistently in this match, we tried to force our only chances by attacking, sending long passes for Betcher to try and bring him down with little to no support. We had, I think we had 12 entrances into the final third this match. Seven of them were long passes from our own half. Our midfield was so outnumbered. San Diego moved through them like butter. And St. Louis honestly looked kind of content with that, which is honestly what frustrated me the most, is that we really could not find a way out. We really did seem at the end to be content to just sit back and hold on to that point. And after what I saw with how much San Diego was attacking, I was kind of on that wave too. I was like, you know what? Let's just sit back and get this point. And I did not like that feeling. St. Louis, let's not do that again.
Yeah, I've got two things here. You are absolutely right. It felt like we were playing this game to not lose as opposed to playing it to win. And I didn't like watching that either. And then to your Flick's point as well, when you're getting dominated like that, trying to be cute with the ball and do flashy shit is the last thing you need to be trying to do. It's you got to go back to the fundamentals of soccer, receive, turn, play man's feet, not try to play, into a space that you haven't even looked at to a player who you're not sure is making the run into that space. Like
So many times.
all that bullshit would Ethan, you can agree with me. It would have pissed off our high school coach and we would have got subbed out in the first half. And without a doubt, we were the two best players on the team. So like if you're getting subbed out at a high school level for pulling bullshit like that against a team that is superior than you are, why are the professionals doing it with like little to no um there's an R word I'm searching for in my brain right now. But yeah, that shit was frustrating. What about you, Ethan? Anything from Grayson's points?
Very frustrating. I saw just a disjointed attack. We had such high expectations for this team going into this season because of what our summer signings provided last season, and we have not even got a taste of that, not even a glimpse. It's all just a memory at the moment. It seems like just we're hoping for that to reignite, and I'm not sure what it is. I will say that this has been the frustrating part, and we'd be ignorant to pretend that the attack is doing just fine. I think that we saw what it could be in match day one with the amount of shots that we saw and how fluid it looked and the amount of involvement that everyone had, it felt like. But after match day two, it seems like we've seen the basement now, how potentially bad it can be. And it is kind of a scary sight. It does take me into my point though, that our defense held strong. Our defense held very strong and in more ways than one. It felt to me like this was such a cohesive defensive performance. And although San Diego had the ball for so much of the game, I did not get the sense that they were going to be scoring. I didn't get the sense that they were going to be breaking down our defense. Granted, a moment of brilliance could have changed all of that, and we could be having a completely different conversation right now, but San Diego weren't able to provide one. Neither were we, and so we come away with a draw. But I am really proud of how the defense held up. I think that even though Kyle Hebert has a really another embarrassing moment toward the end of the game with the contact situation, just needing a contact,
I almost
I'll
forgot that.
only I'm only gonna blame half of that on him because if the contact falls out, he does his job, run over to the bench to get filler contacts, but it just took so long. I think other that if that is the worst moment of the defense in the game, I'll take it. I will take it. So that does it for my point. I think. How do y'all feel about the defense after match day two? Another clean sheet, by the way. We haven't conceded a goal all season.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, listen, a game like this with the offense that we played, we could be staring down the barrel of a 4-0 loss here, 2-0 loss, 3-0 loss. But our defense was the one that earned us a point this week.
Mm.
And we cannot forget that. Like, that is an insane improvement on last year. Could not really imagine that happening, especially against a team like San Diego, who didn't exist last year. But I digress. What
I
Ethan
also
said, 100%. Like, we had an answer for every single attack they had. And yeah, just lockdown.
just I'm sure a lot of fans were still kind of wondering, did we get the better half of the Henry Kessler Tim Parker trade? Like, did we trade away a fan favorite for a young, unproven MLS center back? But after last night, I feel confident with Henry Kessler in the center of our center defense. For going into the season, I said it. I thought it was going to be Timo Baumgartel. I thought that we acquired our new tall ball playing center back, but we had him already. It's Henry Kessler. So I'm very excited to see what the two of them can do in tandem with another tall tree in Joakim Nielsen. I hope they can get healthy soon.
Yeah, I have nothing else to add as far as the defense. I think you guys summed it up pretty good, but I do think it is so funny that Grayson takes the midfield as his point, Ethan takes the defense as his point, because my point this week is the offense and the forwards.
We did not plan this. Uh-oh.
No, actually, we rarely know each other's points until right before we record.
The
Um,
secret.
but I'm not hitting the panic button on our offense just yet. I am really disappointed with how it's looked in the last two games. I know we looked better against Colorado than we did in this one, but still not having a goal to show for either of these games is disappointing. And there's not really one person to point to as it being their fault. I thought for the minutes Klaus gave us, he did the best that he could. Um, Betcher never really got on the ball in a dangerous area. The fact that our wingback had our most aggressive potential chance at a goal is really telling for what our offense looks like right now. But the answer to the problem we have in the roster right now, I don't think, we missed out on not getting a signing over the summer for the forwards or the winner for the forward position. Um, I think it's gonna come down to when Celio's fully healthy, how we're pairing up our striking partnerships, and then Marcel Hartel didn't really spend a lot of time at the 10 last season. I know he was electric as an winger, basically, as an outside mid in the 4-2-3-1. Um, but this is two games in a row where he's got the feel of what MLS feels like as a 10, and he's just going to grow from there. Cedric Toyshirt is an MVP level player. Hartel's an MVP level player. We've got goal scoring ability. So I'm not really nervous. It's going to come, and just like we predicted last season when we were in a goal scoring drought, as soon as we bag one, the floodgates are just going to open up, and the team's going to realize, like, oh, this is how we have to play offense together. And then we will be a problem from the back line all the way to the front line for any team, home or away.
I thought you were feeling pessimistic, Jacob. That sounded super optimistic to me.
Hey, it's my cross to bear, bro. I'm a natural optimist. I think it's wild we haven't seen Timo yet.
I agree. I think it is a little strange, but he hasn't played in a minute. He was last on Schalke's roster. I think that was over a year ago. So I think he's just working his way back into form, working his way back into, seeing himself on a roster. And I think he's a great player. I have no doubt that we will get to see that at some point this season.
I hope
But
so.
our defense has looked pretty solid without him. So I think it can only improve really.
I mean, we rolled out the red carpet for him, and then Alfredo Morales was kind of a backhand signing that didn't get the red carpet, and he's got all of the more minutes than Timo Baumgartel's got this
Yeah,
season.
yeah.
So
It's funny.
I would like to be a fly on the wall for those conversations and those decisions being made.
Same.
Well, I think that brings us into Kit Clutch, baby! Ding, 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 ding. So, we do have the first ever inaugural home kit for San Diego FC, sponsored by DirecTV. Not us, DirecTV, hit us up. What's up? Uh, but it's blue.
I think actually they would call it Azul,
Azul.
Grayson.
Do you feel the
Look,
flow? You feel
look,
the flow? Feel the
they need
flow, bro?
to send this kit direct TV back to the designers because it is very average. It's just boring. I feel like San Diego could be such a creative place, and Chrome is a, I'll admit, it's a cool color. Okay, they did something cool with that. They could like the multicolor look of the chrome that they're going for could be really awesome, especially in a jersey. I think they could use the right pattern, fabric, or texture to pull that off, and they just didn't. It's just hip
Mm,
stripes. It
It
is
is
just
so
hip
bland.
stripes on a navy jersey. Disappointing. So I I had high expectations for a San Diego jersey, and this one is gonna be pretty low for me. It's gonna be a 4.0. It's
dang.
so below average. Frankly, I think the four is being generous.
Jeez, that's brutal. Brutal. Jacob,
Oh, dude,
thoughts?
I'm not a fan of this jersey. Like Ethan, they had an opportunity to like really announce a brand coming into
Hmm.
the league with like bright popping colors with the chrome accent. And to Ethan's point, they just didn't do that.
Yeah.
They went bland, they went acceptable. Like they
That's feel yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's a great word to describe it, Jacob. Acceptable.
they didn't push any boundaries with it. Ethan gave it a 4.0. I do agree. I think that's generous. So I'm going to give it a 2.0 for the amount of
Woo!
shots on target we had against it.
That's brutal.
I'm sorry,
Uh,
San Diego. Actually, I think San Diego fans would agree.
Well, like they have great kits to base on. LA has two teams with a fantastic line of kits. They can go back a long time at the LA Galaxy kits. San Jose has an argument for some great kits, even. So all the California teams had inspiration, plenty for them.
anyways, I don't hate this jersey. It's boring, but I like the colors of it. I like the deep navy, but I really like the gradient of the two stripes. The only creative thing about this kit, I did like that they pulled it off. I think the color is nice. The San Diego crest, I think, is kind of cool. It's pretty clean. But like I just mentioned, San Diego leaned into the idea of the San Diego flow, like really heavy into their first match day, and they had a pretty cool looking like orb, the flow orb or whatever, and Manny Machado like held it up, and that thing looked cool. I think they easily could have done like a weird
Hold on,
flow
though.
design on the kit, like.
Does that ball scream flow to you, though? Does the orb just
It,
I thought it
define
was
flow?
cool,
Look,
but
it looks
like
cool. I will give you that, Grayson. But St. Louis City, I think, has a way better way of highlighting a match presenter. They bring them out, they bring the ball out, they get to bang the drum in the supporter section. All right, it's a whole thing. This is
Yeah, our
orb.
chief experience officer needs a raise after looking at the match day that San Diego put on for their first ever home opener. You guys had 2 years to plan this thing, and it missed the mark.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I'm gonna get back to
Sorry.
my rating.
Sorry.
Jesus. No, it's all right. But I think on field, this kit is pretty clean. It looks pretty clean. I just think, yeah, it's just not creative at all. I'm gonna give it a six. I'm gonna give it a six. Uh, Added bonus points for this kit because it is one of the kits with the really nice waffle texture pattern on the jersey. You can't really see it in photos, but the kit feels really nice in terms of like the material they actually use. So bonus points for that. That's it.
So a total of 12 out of a potential 30.
Sounds like a damn like knockout first round. First
Yeah.
round knockout.
Yeah.
But yeah, that concludes Kit Clash for this episode. So let's go ahead and move on from San Diego. See you later. Let's go ahead and talk about one of my former favorites. We're coming up against a team that loves a blockbuster game against St. Louis, but simply can't find a way to beat us.
You are right, Grayson. We are going against another California team. We are going against the current reigning, defending, undisputed MLS Cup champions that are 0-2 to start the season. The LA
Mhm.
Galaxy started their
Boo.
season with a loss to San Diego, and then they also lost to the Whitecaps. Why are they losing? Well, they're out their star player Ricky Pooge for the rest of the season because he tore his ACL in the Western Conference Finals last year. They're also down Jeremy Paintsel for the next, I think, like 4 weeks. I think we're 2 weeks into his 6 to 8 week recovery time. Royce is also a shadow of his former self. He is currently just collecting a paycheck while on vacation in LA. And I think this is where St. Louis can actually get their first win of the season and our first win on the road. Hold on, my dog is whining his ass off.
There's a nice stern talking to.
We can get our first win on the road this season. Um, I'm going to start first with my predictions. I think we win this. I think we keep our clean sheet streak going and potentially set another record. And I've got us actually winning this game 3-0.
Wow.
And to continue to raise his stock, I've got Henry Kessler on the score sheet, specifically from a corner kick. I think that would just cement him as the new fan favorites as the center back for St. Louis City. Grayson, I'm going to jump to you because this is your former favorite
Yeah.
MLS team.
Yeah. I do have, a little soft spot in my heart for the LA Galaxy, but it goes away very quickly when they come against the boys in red. And I can't lie, St. Louis loves a game against LA. And hey, I love one too. I get to see my teams play. And I'm feeling pretty good this year. The reason why LA has lost their first two games of the season simply because they've played better teams than them in the first two games of the season. They are a completely different side. San Diego came out flying. They were always going to have that new club bounce, that fire start. And LA, honestly, this entire season has been complaining about what they couldn't do. I saw so many clips of like just LA Galaxy players being like, why can't why can't we keep our players? Why are they all
Yeah.
leaving? Yo, it's part of the game. Just get over it. Start looking
Welcome
towards
to the
next season.
MLS.
Maybe start talking about how you're gonna take over the league next year or something. I don't know. Figure it out. Like Marco, quit bitching about everybody else. Maybe score a goal. I don't know. Try something. But yeah, I'm feeling very optimistic. LA has brought in some new young talent, but yeah, I think St. Louis is going to come out. hot. I think this is the game where we do start to see our offense finally start to flow. San Diego pun intended. And I think that we are going to win this game. I think it's going to be a close one because I don't think we are on the level of the Vancouver Whitecaps at this point, or San Diego at this point. I think we're going to get a close 2-1 victory, just like our last matchup against LA Galaxy.
Grayson, that's a very fair prediction. And I really like how you mentioned that they brought in some young talent this season because I have a player who I am all too familiar with who just made it over to the LA Galaxy. He made the cross country trip from Louisville to Los Angeles, the young 21-year-old Elijah Winder. All right. I have been trying to put people on notice of the Winder brothers for what feels like years now. But Louisville, Kentucky has produced two of the highest ceiling U.S. men's national team products that I've seen in a long time. And I am not exaggerating. The Winder brothers play center back and center midfield. Joshua Winder plays for Benfica in Portugal and is younger. Yes, he made the USL record transfer, just by the way. Elijah Winder, his younger brother, went to the LA Galaxy over the summer for around 400K. You can fact check me on that. And started today over Marco Royce. Says a lot. All
Interesting.
right. I think this kid is
Interesting.
one to watch for the LA Galaxy, will not be the highest ceiling that his career achieves. Enough of the glazing, though. If you're LA Galaxy and you're starting Miguel Berry in 2025, that is a far step down from your championship winning squad. Jacob, you mentioned that they are missing Ricky Puig, they're missing Joseph Paintsel. They let Dejan Joveljic go to Sporting Kansas City. I mean,
Sad.
if I were
Disgraceful.
Joveljic, I would be pissed that they sent my career there to try and die. But he got his goal. So hey, anyways, the Los Angeles Galaxy are a team somewhat flailing at the moment. They are searching for their identity. Not to mention, they have a midweek match before coming up against St. Louis in the CONCACAF
Hey
Champions
now.
Cup. I'm gonna give the name a go here, boys. It is Herediano. They've come up against Herediano.
Harry Potter.
Here, Herediano. I hope I'm. Oh goodness, but they're gonna be tired. They already are struggling this season. They're going to be searching for something at home, but I think St. Louis City takes this opportunity to stake their claim as a good road team this season. We were able to hold strong in San Diego. Last season, we really struggled to score goals on the road. It took us almost the entire season to finally do that. So I think we will get a goal on the road. I think we will come out of Los Angeles or Carson, California, excuse me, with 3 points and finish this road stand with 4 points. I'm gonna pick I'm gonna say 3-2 because the Los Angeles Galaxy are struggling right now, but their attack still does have Gabriel Peck. He is very good. Gabriel Peck is
Yeah.
very good. So I think they can still score goals. I think it's our turn to score some goals. I'm going 3-2 here, St. Louis City. And I'm picking Joao Klaus to shut up the haters.
I like that. I like that. Did I pick a goal scorer? I don't think I did. I'm gonna pick one now. Um, we're gonna get a goal from Marcel. 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 He was
Marcel the Shell.
pretty quiet this last game. In the first game, he looked like he was gonna get his assist. I think he is gonna get a goal in this game against LA. And I think he got a goal last time too. So I think this is gonna work out just well. I will say, just another reminder. They do have a former City player on their team in Johnny Nelson, who's, having a pretty good LA Galaxy career. He worked his way into the starting lineup. He won a cup, but we're gonna have to shut him up. It's gonna be a bad week for him. But yeah,
Let's do it. I love that energy, Grayson.
Well, I'm just taking a look at the standings after this week, and we are one of two teams in the West that has two draws out of two matches. And the other team is Colorado, and that puts Colorado in 10th place and St. Louis at 11th place. We'll
Alphabet
say
of C.
I don't feel like an 11th place team. Like, yeah, we've got two draws, so we've got 2 points, but I definitely feel like a top eight team at the minimum right now. Uh,
Undefeated. No goals
true,
against.
true. There are still quite a few undefeated teams in the West. There are also a lot of teams that have taken a loss in the West this far. So
Speaking of wins and losses, though, boys, I believe it was Chat City Tactics on Twitter post the poll today. Would you rather have one win and one loss right now, so 3 points, or the two draws on 2 points? It's an easy pick for me, but at the same time, my pride says two draws is not as bad. So for me, I'm picking the one win and one loss because then we have 3 points. But I don't know. I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts on the matter as well.
I think for me, objectively, if I'm in the shoes of like the coach or they're just not even just as a fan, I think it's very important early on in the season to one, win a match and also lose a match. Like to see how your team can bounce back from a loss, how a team can take a loss, and how they can learn from a loss is super important. And also just getting a win is a great way to start the season, good on positive vibes. And plus, yeah, we get 3 points. That's 1 point in front of what we have now. I am I'm not overjoyed that we've tied both of our first matches. I'm not gonna, say I'm super happy about this. I'd much rather have one win and one loss. But I'm also happy with where we're at. So we're gonna keep going. We got a long season ahead of us.
I think you're right in having the takeaways of both the positive and the negatives. And I think with how we played in both of these draws, we get that because against Colorado, it felt like a win, right? Because we played so well, there were a lot of good takeaways as far as that. And then now with San Diego, that dude, we got our ass beat and we were able to get out of there with just a point. So
But that's
I
also kind of a win in the fact that we
it's
got our
only a
ass
win on
beat
it's
and we
only a
got a
win
point.
on paper though. Like the product, that was not a win.
But it kind of was though. Like if we're getting
I
attacked
think
the
the
full
I think the
90,
technical term, Grayson, would be that it's not a loss because you're like,
yeah,
yeah, it's you got a point out of it, but the potential for the two other points is lost.
exactly. But we obviously didn't have that like
What I'm trying to
potential for 3 points.
say is I think we learned just as much from how bad we played against San Diego as much as we would learn if we actually lost that match. Because we were only one goal against from actually having a loss on the standing sheet, as opposed
Yeah.
to the lessons we learned of like, we can't fucking play out of the back right now. We would have known that information even if we'd gotten scored on or not. Like those types of lessons that we can take from these two losses, or whoa, these two draws. So I'm gonna say for now, with a tentative asterisk, I'll take the two draws. Ask me again after LA. Might be a different fucking story.
Fair play. That was a spirited
That's
debate,
a good
so
question. That's a
I'm
good
glad I
question.
asked.
It's a good question. Any final notes, comments, questions before we get out here?
Anyone?
Anybody?
Anyone? I don't.
Okay, fine, Jacob.
Cool, sweet. Personal announcement. I have been waiting some time to announce this to the podcast, but I will finally no longer be the farthest supporter on this podcast as I am moving to back home to St. Louis, Missouri in about 2 weeks now.
Wow.
So we will actually have all three City Boys for videos in person. I will actually get to see a city game at Energizer Park, which is huge on the bucket
Oh yeah.
list. That being said, if you see me and my newly shaved baby face in the park, please come say hi. I've been dying to meet some of you and talk ball with you. Um, yeah, super excited. Been hanging on to this for a while, so I'm glad I can finally put it out onto the internet.
Hey, glad to have you. St. Louis is excited to have you.
They better be.
They're gonna hear you at the park,
Yeah.
that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I think we can go ahead and call this clip. What do you say?
Cool. All right, I'll rip the outro if
Bet.
nobody has anything else to say.
Oh,
All right. Um, yeah, if you've been watching on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. Comment down your predictions for next week against LA Galaxy. Really interested to see what the people have to say on that one. If you've been listening on Spotify, make sure you follow, rate 5 stars, and you can also comment your predictions for this game against LA Galaxy. All of our socials have been in the video, various spots, as well as in the description below. Um, yeah, most importantly, don't forget to tell your mother you love her. Peace.
Oh, STL.
STL.
STL.